Friends, Mr. Matter here again. So this is actually attempt number 2 at this video. I recorded the last video. It was 15 minutes. And then instead of clicking the check button to save it, I clicked the X button. But that's good for you because now it is my number 1 goal to try to keep this video shorter than the last one. So I'm going to time myself to make sure I don't put you guys through a 15-minute video. Yay. So in the last video, we looked at what expository writing is and how to do it. In this video, we need to talk about how it's scored. You guys have seen a 12-point rubric before if you were in Birdville ISD last year. You've heard of a thesis, but I mean, again, it's been a minute. So let's go ahead and look through this. But these are all directly tied to how you're graded and how you score on both your CBA and or STAR testing. Okay, so the 12-point rubric is what we're going to look at first. Then we'll look at what the heck a thesis is. Some of y'all remember, some of y'all may not. And then we're going to look at the actual 12-point rubric, and I'll show you guys how to get a higher score on your 12-point rubric. And we'll look at like an example essay. Okay, so very first thing, the 12-point rubric. Before we look at what it has to include, I just want to show you what it looks like. So it looks like this. There are 2 pages. The first page has what we call the early writer stage. We don't look at stages 1 through 3, don't worry about it. And then on the second page, we have the developing writer stage, that's stage 7, 8, and 9. And then we have the competent writer stage, stage 10, 11, and 12. Typical 8th graders that have a more polished paper usually tend to score somewhere around the 7 to 8 stage. It is our goal for you to have a polished paper to be scoring somewhere in the 8 to 10 stage. Every now and then we have an 8th grader just go above and beyond. Their paper is phenomenal, and they score into the 11 and 12, but we'll look at that shortly. So the way your rubric is set up is there's these 2 columns on top that have to do with what's actually in your essay. The top column is row. Sorry guys, the top row is always going to be about content. What's actually in your essay? How well are you supporting your ideas and explaining yourself? The next row is about organization. Do your thoughts flow? Do you have separate paragraphs? Do you have an introduction? Do you have a conclusion? The bottom 2 rows are a little bit different. They're a little bit about how you're writing. So not about what you're writing, but how you're writing. So this 3rd row down here is going to be about the vocabulary you choose. It's going to be about how you're telling the essay, how you're explaining it, and how strong your writing is. The final row is going to be about conventions such as spelling, grammar, and punctuation, and how well you're executing that. So we're going to go ahead and go back here really fast. You also need to know on the 12-point rubric that you must have a thesis. You cannot get a passing score on the CBA, on STAR, or in class if you're writing an expository essay without a thesis, which fortunately is not very hard to do to make sure you have that thesis. The thesis is what goes in your introduction that basically tells us where you stand, and like you'll be given a prompt where you stand and what your reasons are. So here's some examples of a thesis. You would basically take the prompt they give you, state your stance on the prompt, and then give some reasons for why. So actually, let's look at this one first.
For what exactly?
Yeah, we don't have to listen to her. We'll save some time. So what is a thesis statement? A thesis is the controlling idea of your essay. It is the single most important sentence in your entire essay. It will almost always go in your introductory paragraph towards the end of your introductory paragraph. Often it's the last sentence because it like segues, it leads us into the rest of your paper. But as long as you have a sentence or 2 that is in your intro paragraph, we'll be good. So again, a thesis statement should be 1 to 2 sentences long, and it's usually the last sentence of your intro paragraph. So it's right before your first body paragraph. So you should have a formula for your thesis. Basically, you're going to take the prompt, you're going to restate it with your thoughts, and then you're going to give some reasons. If you forget to include your reasons, it's not entirely a thesis. So you're going to claim your position and give some reasons. That is a thesis. Your claim plus your reasons. So here's an example. Here's a prompt. Is it important to study foreign languages? So maybe you need to write an essay answering the question, is it important to study foreign languages? You should not say yes and no. When you write an expository essay, you want to have a strong position and really be able to back that up. So if you had a thesis that said sometimes it's important and sometimes it's not because this, and this, that's a very weak thesis. Even though you really might think honestly, yes and no, it's important, I need you to pick yes or no. to make your thesis strong. So is it important for people to study foreign languages? So here's an example of a thesis statement. Let's say you agree. Yes, it's important to study languages, foreign languages. And here's our thesis. Oh, wait, is that a thesis? People should study foreign languages? Nope, it's half of it. Remember, you need your claim and your reasoning. So here we go. Oh, they came up with their reason. Okay, so the reason they said was studying a foreign language improves your vocabulary. So we need to say it's important to study foreign languages because it can improve your vocabulary. So that is going to be right there, our thesis statement. Here's our claim. People should study foreign languages because, and here's our reason, language learning increases vocabulary. The problem is, while that's an okay thesis, it's not great. The reason is because you only provided one reason. If you want us to really understand why you think it's important for us to, if you really want us to believe you and be on your side that, yeah, it's important for people to study foreign languages, you need to give us more reasons than just one. So check this out. By adding one more reason, your thesis gets stronger. So you want to have at least 2 reasons to support your thesis. Ahem. Here's our new one. People should study foreign languages. There's our claim. Because 1, it increases vocabulary, and 2, it builds an appreciation for other cultures. Well, now we're talking. Now we have something to write about. So your first body paragraph in this essay will be about how it can increase your vocabulary. The second body paragraph will be about how it can build an appreciation for other cultures and why that's important. So make sure before you move on, you have a thesis. You need to make a claim and give us some reasons, and you're going to write about those reasons in specific detail. So I want to show you guys 2 other thesis examples. So a thesis statement basically is the point of your paper, the most important thing. Do you guys remember where you're supposed to find it? Intro paragraph. Always, always in your intro paragraph. Okay. Hold on just a second. There we go. See if you guys can find the thesis statement here. I have never laughed so hard in all my life. This past weekend, I was able to enjoy the summer blockbuster Pie in Face. The screenplay, casting, and directing made it the best movie I've seen in years. It was easy to choose a rating for this movie. Well, I don't know about you guys, but my eyes are first drawn to that last sentence because we know it's usually the last sentence. It was easy to choose a rating for this movie, but that doesn't work. We need a claim and we need reasons. So here it is. The screenplay, casting, and directing made it the best movie I've seen in years. It's reversed from what we looked at, but it's still there. The claim is that it's the best movie they've seen in years. The reasons are because of the screenplay, the casting, and directing. So that's our thesis statement right there. Let's do one more real fast. I do not like them in a box. I do not like them with a fox. For millions of people, these catchy words bring back memories of story time. Through his memorable characters, meaningful lessons, and mesmerizing artistry, Dr. Seuss has promoted reading throughout the world. Nobody before or since has had the same kind of impact as Dr. Seuss. So we're looking for a sentence there that has a claim and has multiple reasons. Nobody before or since has had the same kind of impact as Dr. Seuss is a strong claim, but there's no reasons. So let's look at the sentence before that. Through his memorable characters, meaningful lessons, and mesmerizing artistry, aka how weird his art looks, Dr. Seuss has promoted reading throughout the world. You got your reasons, you got your claim that promoted reading throughout the world. So that is going to be your thesis statement. If you're getting kind of confused here, don't panic. Ultimately, what I want you guys to come back to is that to do a thesis statement, it needs to go in your introduction. It needs to be in your introduction. It can be a sentence or 2 long. And the idea, sorry, I'm clicking around so crazy here, is that you need to have both your claim and your reason. And that's what's going to go in your sentence. So if you had one about, hey, what makes a great leader? Your thesis statement could start off with, a great leader has the characteristics of being kind, of being patient, and of guiding instead of pushing. That is a thesis statement. You've got your claim and you've got your reasons. Does that make sense? So then your body paragraphs would be based on that. All right, back over here to this. So we are really fast going to go, before we look at that example essay, that's going to be in the next video. We're going to go back to this 12-point rubric really fast, and I want to look at some of this language. Friends, if you forget to write a thesis, if I'm looking in your paragraph, your introduction, or Mr. Elmore or Ms. Stevenson is looking at your introduction, and we cannot identify that thesis, the whole focus of your essay, you're going to score a stage 6 or lower. Stage 6 or lower is not a passing score, or it'll be right on passing. Basically, you have an essay there, but without the thesis, we don't have anything to build off of. We don't have anything to help us focus what we're supposed to be reading about. So the thesis is just as much for the reader as it is for the writer. So let's say that you guys do have a thesis. So what are some things that would actually make this? If you were in stage 7, you have some main ideas, but they only have minimal, oh, I highlighted everything, but they only have minimal support or depth of thought. So you gave ideas, but maybe you didn't really support them. Stage 8, you'd be developing the main ideas with some support. So you actually would have some support, but maybe you got a little bit off topic and you didn't go deep enough. Stage 9, you're going to have lots of support and most of your ideas are evenly developed. So each one of these stages, it's harder than it looks, sorry guys. So each one of these stages kind of steps it up more and more, all the way until you get to stage 12, which says the student has given us a really strong message. It's got depth, it's got complexity, it's got an element of surprise, a unique perspective. So we see stage 11 and 12 typical of a high school writer, but this does happen occasionally with students. So I highly recommend that you guys are looking over this rubric, stage 7 all the way to 12, to see what you can do to actually amp up your personal writing. You'll notice some other things. So down here in word choice, if you want to score stage 7, you'll just need to use some specific words. But maybe there's some words that you just flat out overuse, or there's language like dialogue, people talking that you use too much of. But then when you want to score stage 9, maybe you have lots of sentence beginnings that start in different ways. Maybe you actually try to engage or connect with the reader by giving feelings or examples. Friends, when you give feelings or examples, that's going to shoot you way up there because you're trying to connect with the reader, which is just plain flat out effective writing. So I want you guys to kind of look at some of the differences going from 7 to 8, from 8 to 9, from 9 to 10, and really see what you can do. As far as this convention goes down here, just the more correct your punctuation and spelling are, the higher you're going to score. So really focus more on these top 3 rows. Okay, we'll do the example essay in the next video. Yay, it was only 12 minutes instead of almost 16. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope that this makes sense. Email or message your teacher or ask them in person if you have questions. Bye for now.